Hey everyone, Anthony here, and today we're testing out the new DJI NEO, which doesn't need a controller. This is one of the easiest drones to fly, and you can make this drone follow you wherever you go, indoors, outdoors, around trees, and so much more in today's video. I've had this drone for about a week now. I've got to test it in a number of different environments, so I can't wait to show you some clips. Let's dive in. So if you don't know, drone laws require you to have a license for all drones 250 grams or heavier. That's why the DJI mini drones have always been 249 grams. So this NEO weighs just 135 grams. So this drone weighs less than 3 Snickers. So this might be a pro and a con, but this DJI drone is still thicker than a Snicker. But since this drone is so small, the sensor on the inside is a 1/2-inch sensor, very similar to a smartphone. But there's also no micro SD card slot on this drone, so what does that mean for when in use? Well, the drone has 22 gigabytes of internal storage, so this could be a pro and a con at the same time, because the pro is that you just buy the drone and you don't need anything else. The downside is you need to dump the footage off of the drone here and there. If you're, say, like on vacation, you need to dump the footage to, say, a smartphone or a computer to free up some space if you're shooting a fair amount. The specs on the DJI website says you get about 44 minutes of record time internally, but the battery life on this thing is not great. I was recording about 12 automatic quick shots and also kind of fiddling around with the drone in between those shots, and the battery life does die on you fairly quickly. Having a spare is definitely essential for such a tiny drone such as this, and we do sell the drone on its own or in this Fly More combo with like a controller and a couple other accessories. I 10 out of 10 would recommend either going with the Fly More combo or the drone on its own and like a couple spare batteries, or you're going to be constantly charging this thing in a bag somewhere if you do go without. And that's what happened throughout this whole past week. This drone will fly around 8 meters per second, so that's just under 30 kilometers per hour in sport mode. This can be hooked up to FPV goggles and go nearly 60 kilometers per hour in FPV mode, but this thing is tiny and it definitely can move. The drone itself is maybe a little bit more crash resistant than all the other drones out there because of the propeller guards, and it's just kind of par for the course when flying a drone. It's inevitable you're gonna take a tumble, and I've had some close calls with this NEO, but I'll stay tuned. If you stay tuned until the end of the video, I'll show you some ways that you can kind of avoid smashing this into, say, like a light post or losing it in a tree. The price on this drone is really appealing though, so if this does get obliterated in like a crash or run over by a car, then at least it'll only cost you 250 maple syrup coins. And I know some people are going to be watching these videos and they're living in America, so I'll run a quick conversion here to US dollars. Yes, that is 49 bags of bald eagle food. So regardless, this is not going to hurt the bank account too much if you try and take it for a swim or lose it to a volcano. There are sensors on the bottom of this drone, so when you stick your hand under the drone, it will land on your hand, and you can also rip it out of the air too. This is apparently an acceptable way to avoid a collision. There we go. I thought I was gonna have to like Michael Jordan or like Shaquille O'Neal that out of the air. The drone will also recognize your face and take off from your palm. Then use that as a reference to track whoever's hand it actually took off from. Really easy for a single person operator, especially for those who have never flown a drone before, because you can launch it from the palm of your hand and then do one of those automatic flight paths, or just get the drone to follow you. More on that in a little bit. But as far as like other obstacle avoidance kind of things, I'm actually a little bit confused because sometimes it stopped before hitting things. Like when I was taking this shot here, I'll explain how I almost lost this drone and the DJI app saved me a big time. I will tell you, in the combat clinic, I'm shooting a quick shot, doing a circle around Dennis on the heavy bag, and it cuts the circle inward, moving closer to the heavy bag as it goes around and avoids the window behind the drone and passes the rear of the heavy bag and still focuses on Dennis. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? How did it know to cut the circle off a bit? And the space between that heavy bag and the window, that's really tight. And that, as of right now, is a total mystery. I have to ask DJI about this, but there's some AI magic happening in this drone. But in terms of obstacle avoidance, there is none, apparently. The easiest way to fly and get going with this drone is to turn this drone on by double pressing the button near the rear of the drone until the lights just fire up. Then it'll ask you to calibrate the drone and connect it to the DJI Fly app, but just don't close down the app while you're flying because one, you can adjust all the quick shot settings for things such as distance. The drone will fly away from you, but the most important thing is it'll show you a giant stop button on the screen when in flight, and it'll also show you when the drone is recording and what the drone is seeing via the camera on the drone itself. So this is really cool, but the first time I went out and tried all the quick shot features, I was just using the button on the top of the drone, and you can just press and go through all the quick shot features like this.
Follow, droney, circle, rocket, spotlight, helix, follow, circle.
Let's do circle.
2 meters, circle, 3, 2, 1.
Whoa, and we're off. Watch out, Sammy, it's coming your way. So I guess it automatically chose 2 meters and it's going to circle around me and hopefully get a somewhat dynamic shot here. But what I also heard about this drone is if I just stick my hand out, it's gonna come land on my hand. What the heck? That was crazy. The problem with doing it without the phone is you have no way to stop the drone if it's looking like it's about to smoke something. And well, I had a few close calls.
3, 2, 1.
So now we've set this to 20 meters, doing this circle again. You can see the drone is actually getting all set up. Look at how far it's actually going. This is 20 meters from me. And now hopefully it's not going to actually hit anything because I didn't realize how far 20 meters was. But let's see what it does. I think we got enough space here. But I should also be able to grab the drone if I realize that it's going to like hit something. So I'm gonna try and walk around. Look at how fast it's going. Okay, so we got lots of space. Uh-oh, we might have a collision. Oh! Look at that, it was freaking speeding. Now it's coming. I thought it was gonna hit the garbage can there for a second. Holy smokes. Whoa! Oh my goodness. What I love about this clip is like how confident I was. I was like, oh yeah, I got tons of room. Or wait, do I? And as I'm like thinking that, it nearly like smoked a trash can. Again, one of those situations where is the sensor on the bottom picking up objects around it, or is the camera kind of analyzing things? I'm not really sure. Is it cutting the circle in a bit? I'm gonna have to investigate this further with DJI, but as of right now, that's how it is. Keep your phone out and use the stop button to save yourself if you're about to hit something, just to be safe. But it's pretty cool to watch the footage on your phone and seeing what the drone is actually capturing. And you can do all that through the DJI Fly app. So this drone does have like a full manual mode. You can take full control of the drone via the DJI Fly app, but I love the quick shot features on really all of the DJI drones, but this drone specifically has Droney, where you go either up and outward, moving away from you, or just outward and staying at the same height. All the quick shots have adjustments that you can make to them within the app, and I like how they've laid out the menu in the app. It's very easy to navigate. As a quick example, you can go into the app and select circle, then choose the distance away from you that the drone will circle. Then click the control menu and click start if you want to take off, and the drone can and will take off from your hand, recognize your face and use your face as a reference point to complete that quick shot, and also pick up your body when in follow mode. I went for a run, I recorded the first 7 minutes straight, and it looked really cool. Drained like half the battery just to take this one clip, but still really cool. Probably the most popular quick shot is Helix, where it goes in a circle around you but moves outward at the same time. A really dynamic movement that's kind of hard to do this. It's really hard to do this manually. So this is why these quick shots are so fantastic. Not all, but most are really tricky to do via the manual controls. And if you're a beginner, then there's just no chance whatsoever. Here's why having some of the manual controls is so key though. So I was taking this shot here and these kids were jumping off the pier into the water, and this is Droney, so the drone just moved outward and then comes back. And for some reason, I think it was the wind, when the drone came back in, it was much lower than when it moved outward. So I'm like, holy smokes, the drone is done for. I couldn't reach it or grab the drone out of the air. It was about to hit the railing. It's floating over the water, too far over the railing, and again, some mystical stuff is happening here because it knew not to run into the railing, so it kept like stopping in front of, on the other side of the railing, just too low for me to grab it, and then it would try and like go up, but then it would like try and figure out where to go from there. Thank goodness though, I had the DJI app up, and instead of selecting quick shot, you can just quickly switch it over to manual mode. And from there, I was able to fly the drone up and over the railing and just land it right on the pier. And I saved it from taking a swim. I'm pretty sure this is why I have so much gray hair. I started to fly a drone in like 2020, and ever since I've just been covered in it. The other cool fly mode this drone has is follow mode, and it works really well in tricky lighting situations. And when I moved behind some different objects, it did lose me for a moment, but there's a clip of me just going around the heavy bag, and then we have Coach Andre move through the shot, and I tell him just stand there, and it's very clearly stuck to me and not him, so it works really well. But then I did have this clip of me just running behind some of the heavy bags, and it does lose me for a second here. Could be because I'm also backlit. I do eventually pop my head back into the frame, and I was like jokingly like yelling at the drone like, this way, and it actually did catch back onto me, and it started tracking me again. So in some situations, the tracking was perfect. This shot of Dennis on the heavy bag was crazy because it actually moved behind the heavy bag and is still with him, but this is why I think it lost me in the other shot due to the backlight situation, because here Dennis is front lit, and it worked surprisingly well. Check out this clip where the drone is following me around the pier. This day I went out and it was a little windy, so this is one of the cons of having such a small drone. The wind was kind of pushing it around a bit, but this is still really impressive. And again, it's avoiding the pier itself, all the railings, and keeping with me really well. This is just crazy and really fun to watch back. All right, so I'm not sure how fast this drone is, but I think I could beat it in a foot race. We'll put it on follow mode and I'll try and lose it. We'll see how this goes. I might have to ditch the microphone for this one, but here we go. We did not ditch it. It got confused. It didn't want to go through the soccer post, but I can't run fast enough to ditch this thing, so it should hold tight on you no matter what you're doing. So a couple people are thinking, okay, this drone is 450 maple syrup coins in the Fly More combo. So if I double my savings, I can get myself a DJI Mini 4 Pro with the controller. Should I just save for the Mini? Well, my drone is the Mini 3, and these mini drones have a larger sensor, so there is a noticeable jump up in image quality and just overall manual controls. And I've had this drone for a while. I was always like, oh yeah, you know, the battery life is just, it's not that great, but it's not bad. The Neo is much smaller, so the battery life isn't great at all. And you do notice the difference in quality for sure because of the Neo, the Neo's 1/2-inch sensor rather than the 1-inch sensor on the Minis. The Neo is for those types of people who just want a drone that essentially flies itself. So if you're debating whether or not you want to get some manual controls and have the desire to learn to manually fly a drone, then saving up a bit more does kind of make sense, and it gives you a lot more freedom. You can fly longer, you can fly further away from the controller on the larger drone. So if you have the desire to manually fly a drone and go further, save the extra money and go for the step up. But these are not so automatic. Literally anybody could figure out the Neo in about 2 trips out and get those cinematic movements, and it's honestly so crazy what this can do all automatically. The Neo also doesn't have any kind of flat picture profile, and I do kind of like having a little bit of control over the image quality, but you might be totally fine with having something of this caliber and really not worrying about color grading the image whatsoever. If that's the case, the Neo is definitely the way to go, and honestly, it was so much less stressful flying the Neo when compared to the Mini. 450 Canadian, it's not a lot, but if you lose 1,200 because you're trying to get a risky shot, and then you lose your drone in, say, like a water or volcano or whatever it may be, that tends to hurt. I think the Neo might be the product of the year for me because all of the technology and all of those automatic features really makes this drone awesome and very easy to fly. Yeah, the quality looks like something you'd get from a slightly maybe older iPhone. Sometimes getting the shot is more important than the quality though. This drone is super unique and it was so easy to fly and very affordable. If you're an athlete, this is the best tool I think for you. If you lose the drone or crash it, which I've done with other drones, then it's not the end of the world because this drone isn't that expensive when compared to other camera equipment. And if you have some propeller guards that kind of protect the drone and the vulnerable parts on here, so that might give you some protection and peace of mind. So if you're interested, hit henrys.com. There's a link down below. My name's Anthony, and I'll see you in the next one.